Hey all, so Banlist season is coming up pretty soon. We're going to have a couple major events finishing up. The OCG should be receiving a ban list soon as well. And I kind of wanted to just go over my thoughts on the current format, see we've got some more hot takes with recent engines, and then a lot of cleanup. You know, the TCG ban list has felt sort of clunky. But we're going to start off with the relevant stuff, with the Fiendsmith stuff. Moon of the Closed Heaven. A lot of people are saying with this guy at common, we could see her banned. I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's probably the case. Like, there's a very good chance, just because if they don't reprint Engraver in Quarter Century Stampede, you know, that engine is still gonna remain pretty expensive and kind of inaccessible for a lot of people looking to get into the game. So I think Moon should probably go. It was printed at common, you know, same thing with Lacrima, where they printed it at common as kind of a cynical, we know we're going to ban this. And to add on to that, Exodon Knight, I am a little bit less hesitant to say it'll be for sure banned, but it did, again, just get a super accessible reprinting in Crossover Breakers, and you know, with the way this game works, if it's been reprinted at low rarity, there's a high chance they ban it. You know, happened with Rarity Collection 1, happened with Rarity Collection 2, hasn't actually happened with Rarity 3 yet, but Rarity 4, I could absolutely see it happening with Foalos, so I'm also going to put that in most likely banned. Requiem and Engraver are kind of weird. I think Requiem, if it's hit, you know, does kind of slaughter the entire Fiendsmith engine, but at the same time, Konami does have a history of banning broken link ones, as I'm going to go over with a couple items on this list. So I think Requiem probably will stay around just for the time being, but it depends. You know, the OCG has had it for some time. Right now they're in sort of a Malice dominant format. We obviously are still waiting on Alliance Insight, but I think Fiendsmith has a pretty short shelf life going into this next year. That being said, I'm going to keep Requiem. Engraver is one where I think Engraver could also stay at 3 and be fine. But at the same time, if they're going to do a consistency hit and not an outright ban, it has to be Engraver, right? It could be tracked. They could even ban Lurie. I actually didn't put Lurie on here, but that is a possibility. Probably not with the upcoming Fabled support. So I'm going to say Engraver is either semi-limited or limited. I'm going to lean more towards limiting it. I don't think a semi-limit would do anything for the engine. As shown by Master Duel, where it's, you know, semi-limited from the start, and that has done absolutely nothing to stop the super, you know, meta-relevant dominance of Fiendsmith. Unicorn. Unicorn's an interesting one. I think we've been seeing a lot of Unicorn in the TCG pretty much exclusively as an answer to Fiendsmith, where you put this in your Malice list, or you put this in your Fiendsmith pile, and then going first, you get to just rip that Requiem right out, you know. Between the Kashtira cards and the Bestials, there's a lot of Fiendsmith hate in the format, which is funny because they then immediately went and printed Rex Tremende as sort of the get out of jail free card for Fiendsmith. If, you know, let's say your Requiem gets banned on the following turn, or even on the turn, you can hit a fusion off of either Sequence or off of Tract, and then immediately get back your Requiem with the Rex Tremende. So I don't think Unicorn is in any real danger of being hit. I could see it getting limited or semi-limited, so right now I'm going to put it at semied, just because Malice is playing a lot of Unicorn. You can wait till later. So speaking of Malice, Lingeribo, I wasn't really sure, like, I look at the Malice list, and there's nothing that I think immediately needs to get hit. A lot of people are saying, oh, hit Dormouse, but Dormouse is fine. You know, it's the deck's normal summon. Typically, they don't hit the normal summon for meta-relevant decks, just historically speaking. So I think if they're going to hit anything, they're going to axe Lingeribo right away, right? This card is going to be pivotal for the Alliance Insight support with the new Adignister stuff, and I think it needs to go. You know, there are already alternatives for this card, so we don't need it sticking around any longer. Similarly, although it's fallen out of favor in the format, I think Yubel. Phantom is currently limited, and I know that a lot of people were kind of sick of the Yubel deck when it was meta relevant, where it was pretty annoying to play against. I love this deck. I don't think it needed to be hit as harshly as it was. The trade-off, you know, of Spirit Gates for Phantom wasn't anything crazy. So as a result, I think we could easily put Phantom at semi-limited, sort of to, here, we're going to put above Unicorn, sort of to equalize the way they have it in Master Duel, where in Master Duel, you know, Phantom is at 2, and it doesn't do anything. It's totally fine. That is another... Okay, that is all the meta-relevant... Oh, actually, no, one more meta-relevant thing. In OSS, you know, OSS was kind of a cheap, cynical cash grab of a ban. I mean, I was watching the stream when it came out, and, like, you know, that whole ban list was fantastic. Happy to have all the rulers back. They get to OSS, and I could just, like, you heard people complaining on stream even. Like, nobody agreed, you know. The fact that it was banned in an event where there were no copies of it in Top Cut just speaks to how fine the card is. And also, most of the stuff printed in 23 with archetypal retrains in, you know, every new fire archetype or any fire archetype that got new support, I immediately think of TG Rocket Salamander. Those guys want OSS. And although if it came back now, Fiendsmith Snake Eye would probably creep back up into meta relevance, I don't think it's that good anymore. I think it could pretty safely, you know, even if we just limit it, I mean, you know, you're only ever playing one anyways, but I think it could safely come back at limited. But most likely that's not going to happen. That's just a personal wish. Okay, do we have any more non-cleanup? Oh, yeah. Branded Fusion, I don't think needed to be hit in any real way. I don't agree. Like, Branded has always been, you know, either meta-relevant or on the fringes of playable. So I'm going to go ahead and just immediately toss that into unlimited. It can come back, right? It doesn't really matter how often you draw into it, because the deck has so many different ways to access it. It doesn't entirely matter how many copies it's at. That being said, I think it can come back to 3. You know, Branded just lost their gimmicky lock win con. Let Branded have some fun, right? And then this is one that I think some people are going to feel weird about. Shifter. So the top 2 decks right now, Ryzeal and Malice, both can play Shifter. Ryzeal doesn't want to play Shifter, but it can easily play through it or under it. And then Malice, some builds of it will want to be shifted, or they, you know, play pretty effortlessly through it. I think it's time for Shifter to go, right? There are some decks that like you're never in a good place with Shifter. It's either my deck can tolerate Shifter, or it's my deck loves Shifter and I use it to clown on every single meta-relevant graveyard-based deck, which is most of them. I think Shifter can go, you know. That's like a pipe dream. You know, we've been asking for it to get hit for years. Since when did it come out? 21? So since 2021, it has been a problem. I don't think it's ever leaving. I don't care what the OCG is doing. the TCG Banlist philosophy has shown that lingering floodgate cards typically don't get hit if they're only going to last for a turn or two. The fun part now, cleanup. Heavy Storm. Master Duel has this card. I think it could come back and be just fine, right? There's nothing stopping Heavy Storm from being like the 5th or 6th best thrust target, you know? We're gonna save all the link ones for their own little section. Sacred Tree. I still can't believe they didn't reprint Horus in lower rarity. Those tins were just such a disaster. But Sacred Tree, you know, doesn't really need to be limited. I think it could very, very easily, like out of all of these, could come back to 3 and be just fine. Barrage. So we're gonna kind of lump together all the Zodiac stuff and talk about it as a collective. I think actually let's start with Rapier. So Rapier, I think, could come back to Semi-Id. It would restore its functionality, but it wouldn't be super oppressive, where if you dealt with one Rapier, you could stop the weird little resource loop that it provides. Zodiac Ryziel could be meta relevant, but if you just unhit Rapier, the deck's not doing anything, right? It's like the deck becomes Armored Raylancer and then UDF, and that's fine. I don't really care about that. You know, there is the new Utopic retrain coming out pretty soon, but I don't think that's for any old rank 4 deck. So yeah, Rapier could come back to 2. I'm gonna hesitate to say 3 just because a consistency hit for it would still be nice, so people don't freak out right away, but Rapier's not doing anything. Not in this format, not in any following format. It's fine. Similarly, Trident, I think, could come back. Realistically, it'll get put to 1, sort of the same thing we saw happen with Barrage. But Zodiac needs a boss monster. Armored Dark Ray Lancer is not a good enough boss monster for this deck. I love Trident. I've played Zodiac and Master Duel pretty much since I pulled the whole core, and I think the deck is, it's fine. It doesn't do that much. Even with Ryziel floating around, even with Eclipse Twins giving it a power boost outside of Ryziel, the deck's just not that good. Tri-Brigade will not make it playable enough to be a meta contender, so Trident to 1 feels fine. Barrage, I actually, as much as I love Zodiac, Barrage is kind of an insane card. It's a lot more than just more copies of Tenki. It's a free body and a free level 4 body that then generates a free Xyz. So that could be anything. That could be Ryziel stuff. That could be the armored stuff. That could be UDF. This card is dangerous, especially in conjunction with Broad Bowl. I think Broad Bowl and Barrage can't be legal at the same time, because if you open Barrage, you, without using your normal summon, can go Broad Bowl and then go either Trident, another Zoo. You can do all sorts of nonsense with that. So I'm actually not a huge fan of Barrage. I think everything else in Zodiac would be fine to come off. So I think it should just stay in limited for now. Broad Bowl. I like Broad Bowl. This card is broken. It's not okay design-wise. It has the exact same problems that I listed with Barrage, and with Barrage it would be a problem. I think it could be fun to try this card out at 1 for some time, but unless they offer a consistency hit to Ryziel, I don't see it. It's not great. So we're gonna put it at 1, but it's like, it is at the bottom of my priorities. Actually, there we go. Yeah, where I just don't think it needs to come back super immediately. I think if Zodiac just got back Trident or Trident and Rapier, that would be fine. Gateway of the Six is a weird one. I love 6 Sam. With the new support, the deck has gotten a new lease on life. It's really cool, for a deck that is essentially just Naturia Barkion and Nat Beast Turbo. It's pretty cool. That being said, I don't think this card needs to be unhit in any dramatic way, but we could offer it, bring it up to Semied even. That's fine. Just see what it does. 6 Sam got plenty of stuff with Rhoda. I've been cooking with 6 Sam for ages since it came out. I love the deck. I don't think it actually even necessarily needs or wants to play Gateway at this point, as weird as that sounds. Oh my god, wait, there's one more Zoo card that I forgot to talk about. Well, it's not entirely... So MX Saber Invoker. This card feeds into the Barrage Broad Bowl loop that I was talking about, except then this means that the best starter in Zodiac becomes Speedride Terror Top. It's been like this in Master Duel, it's been like this in the OCG. This card is fine to come back. I don't think the amount matters. You probably only want to run one anyways, so let's put it in Unlimited. I think that, especially with Alliance Insight giving some support for Argo Stars, that deck loves Invoker because you can just go Terror Top, Takatomborg, make Invoker, get out Glorious Adra effect, and then start your lines from there. But we are also getting the new Searcher in Argo Stars for giant hunting, so we don't need Invoker, but it would mean that the deck goes from 7 copies of its main starter to 10, which is fine, right? That's okay. You could argue that it would break some 3-axis styled decks, but I don't see it doing anything. What are you gonna do? Play Punk Zodiac? That's fine. Nightmares, Goblin, and Mermaid. So this is a weird one. I think that with Requiem being legal, all of the busted Link ones, so that is Nightmare Mermaid, Prankid's Miamu, and Scarecrow, all 3 of these can come back, right? There's no reason to keep any of them banned. It just doesn't make any sense. These guys are all objectively worse than Fiendsmith's Requiem, and they're still axed. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Super Heavy is a little scary to come back, but also without Barone and Appaloosa, what does Super Heavy do? It's just a really good rank 4 engine, which is fine. We already have the best rank 4 engine in the game legal right now, so I don't think that does anything. Prankids, Adamancipator hasn't been relevant since lockdown, since the Dark Ages. I think Adamancipator would be just fine to receive a fun little unhit, especially with Black Dragon banned. Miamu doesn't do anything, so that's fine. Who gives a shit, right? Similarly, Nightmare Goblin has been legal in Master Duel now for some time, and again, hasn't really done anything. There's some stuff builds with Auroradon and Galaxy Tomahawk that throw it in. I know I was tinkering around with Kashtira Fiendsmith, or not Kashtira Fiendsmith, Kashtira Snake Eye for a while, but these cards don't do anything. Nightmare Goblin is such a win more. It could, out of everything here, it could very easily come back and just do nothing. It's got a once per turn on it. It doesn't actually boost any specific deck. World Chalice is getting some upcoming support. They're getting an Ib retrain. And again, they're getting a new Link one. They don't even necessarily need Nightmare Mermaid anymore. So I think Goblin is also probably fine. Masterpiece, again, you know, this deck hasn't been relevant. You know, it'll become like the 5th best deck at the bottom table at your locals. I think that's totally fine. You know, if I get to see like the Argo Stars match up with this, like that's gonna be so hype. I don't think this is gonna be doing anything anytime soon. You know, it's a boring Floodgate deck. Yeah. No, this could easily come back to 3. It is probably the most powerful out of most of the cards on this list, but it could totally come back to 3 and be fine. My last little touch up here is Glow Up Bulb. Glow Up Bulb, I think I'm gonna go ahead and say let's limit it for now. Linkuriboh is gone, so it can't do the degenerate things that people always feared it would. But even then, you know, this card is still pretty accessible for some decks. If you can make a Synchro 6, you can get access to this card. But it's not anything crazy. I'm realizing the one card I've forgotten here is Bonfire. I love Snake Eyes, but at the same time, fuck Ryziel, right? Bonfire should probably just be banned at this point. We've gotten the Rarity 3 printing. If Bonfire is the first Rarity 3 printing to get banned, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Yeah, that's all. Comment your thoughts. Love to hear from people. And have a good night.
About